But we understand, Kojo, that there's a bit of situation somewhere.
Bernice, the situation is on Twitter, of all places. By the way, keep using the hashtag ElectionHQ every time you tweet so that we'll see what you're saying and we'll share it with the world. The police have been tweeting, and I'm going to read what they're saying. Okay, this is allegedly something that happened in Sunyani, right? So it says, police confirm the arrest of one Daniel Tibiri Bwahin, a civilian cited driving a police Nissan pickup vehicle with registration number G for Golf, P for Papa, 3329 on the night of the 6th of December 2020 by the youth of Sunyani, who handed him over to the police. It goes on to say a little bit more. The police have impounded the vehicle, which was auctioned earlier this year by appointed auctioneers as an unserviceable vehicle after going through due processes to one Abu James at Bongo in the Upper East region. Investigation continues, and this is something that the Ghana police have just put up. It apparently happened in Sunyani, even as the election has been ongoing. But of course, it's not related to the election. But I'll tell you what is related to the election on Twitter, and that is what you have been saying. So we asked the question as to whether you are voting from the Ododo Diodio constituency. We wanted to know how the voting was going for you, and a lot of your tweets have been coming in response to this, and we'll share those with you, all of your thoughts. But we'll have to pay a bit of attention to that later. One other question we were asking was whether you have voted yet. Now, at this time of the morning, you can see that 31% of you have voted. 68.7% of you who have been responding to this particular tweet have not yet voted. And you've been giving several reasons. Some of you say you haven't had the urge yet to vote. But of course, you're all watching us, which is the first important step. Hopefully that will give you the urge to go out there and exercise your mandate. A lot of you saying that you will go soon. So we certainly want to know how your experience goes when you go out to vote. Okay? To those of you who haven't yet, at Yusuf Musa 4, we've got our eyes on you, Yusuf. Go out there and cast your ballot. Okay? Your nation needs you. Now, in a short while, we'll take you live to Nima, where the president will be voting. But before that, we're going to wrap up quickly with our guests in the studio. We've been talking with Kofi Bentel and Clara Berry Kasati all morning. They've been giving us such insights. And I can't thank you both enough. But I think this is the point at which we'll hear the last from you so that we can bring in a fresh pair of lungs. But Kofi, you were making a point before we went off around the country.
So I was making the point, the question was about what are the main issues on people's minds now. And the point I was making was that there are things that offend people and things that affect them. In the last election, you had Dumso. It offended people and affected them as well. And then you had the issue of corruption, which people connected to the Dumso, etc. So to them, corruption both was offensive and also affected them. This time, however, you have a situation where free SHS is on people's minds. Free SHS does not offend them, but affects people positively. And clearly, it is working for the ruling party. Then you have the issue of corruption, which offends people. But that connection is not being made this time as strongly as was made the last time. So if you ask me what's on people's mind right now, governance is on people's minds. You remember in 2016, the refrain was incompetence, they're not running the country well. And Dumso, underlined that very well. Okay, this time governance is on people's minds, but which aspect of governance? So, yeah, you can complain, but which aspect of it is offending and affecting people is not very clear. Corruption is being talked about, but is it really something that the ordinary person feels is affecting them? No. Incidentally, the free SHS issue is a positive. So for me, the things on people's minds as far as the MPP is concerned, okay, are things that may even offend but may not affect them.
That's interesting. I wonder if, Clara, you feel the same way about this affect, dynamic, especially when it comes to issues of governance. Is it true that Ghanaians this time around are not as affected by issues of corruption? Ejapa, cash for seats, Australia, all of these corruption issues have not affected, as Kofi, analyzes?
There's a view there, not just Kofi expressing that view, but there's a view there that this time around corruption is not so much affecting people. If you look at our history, right from independence, corruption has always been the driving force for change and all of that. I do not necessarily share the view that corruption is not affecting people. I just think that how you are able to communicate the corruption for them to understand is when they get affected or they don't get affected by it. Yes, I have heard the views being expressed that maybe we are all corrupt people, Ghanaians are corrupt people, so I don't necessarily share that view. I know that there are circumstances. If we are going to go into why people do what they do, we get to see why they do what they do. But I don't think it is innately just so they are. Sometimes people do what they do because what are the options available to them and all of that. But if you've looked at our history, and even through the coup d'etats, not just democratic governance, throughout the coup d'etats, corruption has always been top of the agenda why people have decided to take over the reins of government. So Ghanaians do feel strongly about corruption. How we have discussed it this year going forward, and probably because of our history coming into this election, has affected a lot of the way that the discussion has gone. But I do not think that Ghanaians are coming to accept that they want corruption. I don't think that Ghanaians as a people want corruption. Whether they are giving up is a different discussion. But I think that generally we do want good governance. But it's not the only.
Well, we'll have to take you off from Studio 997, head straight to the Eastern region. The president has arrived in Kyebi. We're expecting that he will cast his vote. And Elton Brobe is there for us. Hello, Elton. Tell us what's happening with the president. Okie dokie. So we have the visuals. The president also going through the COVID-19 protocols, also in white, and washing his hands there, temperature being checked by a nurse at the polling station. Hands sanitized as well, and a lot of people are there as you'd expect, and the president is going through the usual process like I ran you through with former President John Dramani Mahama. His name is being checked on the list and on the reference list, and the verification officer will then verify his identity with the verification machine. Then he'll be issued the presidential ballot paper. So the president is going to go through all those protocols and cast his vote in Kyebi. Hello, Elton.
Yes, Dennis, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Quite a scene there as people have gathered to observe the president cast his vote. We have seen that he's handed over his voter ID card to a polling assistant. Tell us what's happening on the ground as well.
What is happening is that President Akufo-Addo is now going through the vote process to just finish voting his hands compliance for the bank protocol. He's just checked his name, and now he's moving to a spot where he'll be given the ballot paper. He's now going through the biometric verification process. He's putting one finger on it to confirm that he's the person whose name and details is submitted on the electoral register. And when he's done, he'll be given the ballot paper. Now behind him will now go to the ballot box, start his vote, and then he'll be done. Remember that the first thing the best constitution is in this constituency. And he's almost done. He's done with verifying details and the biometric machine. He is now he's now going to be given a ballot paper. The electoral officer is going to take one for him now. And what you are seeing on your shop, President Akufo-Addo about to be given a ballot paper. And then when he's given the ballot paper, the usual process will be that ensure that it is stamped at the back, that will make it legitimate, and then we'll go to the ballot box and then begin the process of exercising the responsibility. So what we see.
Understand how the area or the polling station the president will be at this point. It's quite noisy. It sounds as if there's someone making an announcement. But I would love you, if you can, to either project so we could hear you clearly, or just move away a bit from the crowd. And for those of you watching on television and other medium, apologies for the loss in our feed there from Kyebi, but we are still there live on the ground, working the lines to get clearer photographs and pictures for you. But what it is that President Akufo-Addo is in Kyebi, just about to cast his vote. He's gone through the COVID-19 protocols and the verification as well. And hello, Elton. Let's hope we have a better line now. So just fill us in with what's happening.
What is happening is that we just finished casting his ballot. We're going to put the paper on the ballot box, and that will be done. That will be done with the process of voting. We just finished casting his anti-scientific document, his ballot paper into the current ballot box, and that will conclude his exercise for this morning here in Kyebi, in Town, in the South constituency of the city. Now, the presidential voting is now going for another step, when we will be given a ballot containing personalities who are contesting on the cities of the MPP in the South constituency here in the Eastern region. And the MPP's candidate is the Minister for Western Health, Mr. President Akufo-Addo has just been given the ballot paper containing those contesting the parliament. He's done with the presidential one, the ballot was voted, and now he's given a paper to
apologies once again for that loss in feed there. And Elton Brobe was just running us through what President Akufo-Addo is doing at that polling station in Kyebi. He's done with his presidential vote. He's now casting his ballot for parliamentary candidate, but as you may know, that's the president's hometown, and the people there have thronged the polling station, some just to catch a glimpse of the president. We're expecting that he will speak to media persons after going through the process.